What's up, everybody? I am Lady Stars and Fire. My real name is Michelle Espinosa, and here is the weekly healing messages for April 15th through the 23rd. So much going on. Before I go into anything, though, I often have a lot of people who will also check the video for the rune cast. I have not done the rune cast yet. I have too much I'm going to be giving you from Spirit, along with astrology, which coincide, actually. Well, usually they coincide, but it will help you understand the different information that Spirit is giving as we understand the energy that's coming through astrology. And with so much needing to be said there, I didn't even do the rune cast yet. I will post it on social media, so you can go back to my Facebook page, and stuff along that line, and you'll be able to find the rune cast. But this is actually the weekly healing messages video. And it's just not going to be in it because I have too much from Spirit as well as too much going on in astrology to be able to even go there and cover that at this time. Wanted to make sure I got that out of the way. Last week I had said that we were told also in the video from Spirit, when Mercury's in retrograde, we tend to get in our own heads. Get a little bit more self-centered, because communication is talking inwardly to us. But we were told last week in the healing messages from Spirit, if it's not coming in as positive energy, positive conversations to yourself, positive viewing, if you can't turn it into positive, get out of your head. Now you're going to start to understand why. This week is going to be the first in probably 4 weeks worth of like a reset, repositioning, redirecting, reassessing. And it's coming right when that the new moon just took place. But the new moon is all about new beginnings, and it is bringing us to that new beginning. But the thing is, it's going to take that new moon's energy this whole month to kind of work through that. Because for some of us, depending on where we are on our path, I'm being shown some of us are very much starting to come into a place of and finding that inner peace within and really being able to start launching yourself forward. And that's a great thing. And I'm proud of you if you're on that path and you're at that spot. But many, hi Mr. Neptune, many are not there. And in fact, they're far from feeling at peace right now. They have a lot of inner communication coming in. It just feels like inner battles that they've been trying to work through. And let me just say, in a sense, even though Spirit said, if you can't make it positive last week, get out of your head, it's a positive thing because, and it makes so much sense because it also goes with astrology right now. If you're at a point in your life, hear me out before you take this the wrong way, because this is a positive thing, but it's still something you have to work through. Okay? If you are at a point in your life where you are just fed up with being fed up, if you are just sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you are fed up with what we call the lower vibration of life, good. And that's the reason why it's good. It's a reason why right now that is just so damn irritable and you're like just want to yell out for help and healing. And why? Because it takes a specific consciousness to get fed up enough to clear and start to pass the moon. Now hold on. This is called coming online, honey. This is where it starts. This is where the beginning of the awakening comes in. All of us have our own ways of coming into how we came online, how we started to come back into the awakening and finally start to enlighten and move forward into collective consciousness. However, it doesn't start the same for all of us, but many of us got to that. I'm just fed up. There has to be more than this to life. I was told once, and I love this saying because it makes so much sense, and especially because I say all the time, the the planets are so sensitive to me and my life. And as I started to learn astrology, it helped me to actually work through my own mood swings and help me to understand myself as I was moving forward. And that's one of the reasons I do what I do. Is the moon's job. The moon's job is to break your heart over and over again until there's nothing left to break. How else can you be rebuilt into a collective consciousness? Let me rephrase that as Spirit put it to me, into a divine living consciousness, unless you've been broken and fed up with being fed up and living the lower vibration enough to come online. Now that alone is not enough. Okay? That's just the beginning. And there's still a lot of work there. Because in order for the moon is the closest to us on the planet. And before you ascend out into the rest of the solar system and start working with those actual energies and so forth, which is what's going on universally, you have to get clearance from the moon. The moon is our depths. The moon is the depths of who we are and our emotional selves. And until you can learn to handle and control your emotions, you haven't gotten the moon's approval. And until you've learned to start, if you allow your heart to be so heavy, how can you ever receive wings that will fly? How will your wings ever be strong enough to lift a heart that is so heavy? Moon is trying to teach you, to rebuild you, to help correct all the things that you've learned that were wrong. But it can't start giving you that consciousness and healing you and moving you forward until you finally are ready to surrender. That is starting to come online. That is starting to finally go, I'm ready to learn. Because until you are, you won't. But you have to learn first off, in order to ever become they call it collective consciousness, but Spirit says that's wrong. Collective consciousness is a goal. The idea here is to eventually live your life as a divine living consciousness. But before you can ever get to that divine living consciousness, you have to clear past the moon and you have to start cleaning out those lower vibrations that will keep you from ever ascending into those higher dimensions, which is talking about cleansing. You're cleansing and purifying those lower vibrations and getting them out of you. That's where the blessing starts to come. This takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a work in process. You have to realize First, you have to become, quite simply, a divine apprentice. You haven't earned that right yet. Can't ascend that far yet. There's always levels. You have to become that divine apprentice of your own higher self. Your higher self has the answers to everything. Your higher self is perfect and is pure and is love and knows everything about you that even you don't know about you. And when you learn to start connecting with it, it will teach you so that you can become the divine living consciousness that is who you are. This is called the blessing of coming online, coming awake. And if you're going through so many emotional breakdowns right now, that's because of what's going on in the system, in the solar system, and with the planets. But that means you're actually coming online at one of the best times. We have the highest percentage of people who are awakened now. And there's a reason for that. It takes thousands of baby steps to actually start to evolve. And you're taking part in that evolving. Not just for yourself, but for the planet itself and everything around it. With that being said, I'm proud of you because you're starting to wake up. And even though it hurts right now, what you're doing is you're learning to heal by cleaning the vibrations of what is lower in your life and what that means and all of everything of what it means to move on so that you can have the peaceful life you want and truly be at peace and not just be talking shit to yourself. With that being said, let me move on to this week's messages, because I was told to bring that part out first. I consider this week to be lightning crashes. If you have paid any attention to me, followed any of my videos, you guys know I ask you, you got lightning. Well, sometimes lightning crashes. I asked you in the beginning of the year, I said that this was the year of lightning and thunder. You must deal with both your conscious and your unconscious. Your idea here is for your unconscious to become a higher consciousness, so the higher consciousness can actually be the higher consciousness. And this is lightning crashes. This is where that thunder and lightning are crossing. That's what this time is. And that's why I said last week was important. Don't get it wrong. Because that has to do with what this next, more or less until the 15th of next month, is going to be working at moving you forward. But if you didn't get it right, you still have time to get it right, because this is a reset. Chiron is moving, and this has a big deal to do with what it is, but not just Chiron. The reason I say the reset's going to take place is Uranus does not move until next month. When I hit astrology, I'll come back for that and make you understand a little bit better. This is lightning crashes, but it's not just lightning crashes. This is a power surge energy. It's very powerful for a very short time with very high voltage. Remember, darlings, I have told you over and over and over again, in our own way, we are the battery. We are the battery. We hold the power. We harness it. So what are you going to do with what you're harnessing? Because that's the question for this next month, but this next week, as you start to walk in the right direction and start to reassess it and move into the healing direction, so that your new cycle can actually start and take you in the right way, instead of redoing a cycle again that didn't work because you didn't want to learn it. Okay, with that being said, I am being given for the week, though, as far as energies go and the guidance I'm getting from Spirit. For one, I am being given a fox. And it makes complete sense of why I'm being given a fox. Because if you look into the Spirit guide and the animal medicine of a fox, there's two major shifts there. It can be, it can be very intelligent. It can be very spiritual. It can, in the sense of, being witty, so to speak, and being able to come up with the right idea and use everything that's in front of it to make it work for you. It's intelligent, but it also can use that intelligence to also be cunning, and this is really where the energy is this week, because I'm being given plants. I'm being given a lot of actual plant energy this week. I am given the snapdragon as a plant or a flower, and it speaks to us of growth, grace, strength, but it also speaks to us of deviousness. And that's because the snapdragon brings to us the energy of that high energy. It's just highly energetic in general, but it's a powerful will. It's a powerful will that can be either will or straight libido. It may have enough power and strength within that energy to override the other chakras within your system. So this is really an important thing. Are you letting soul lead you, or are you still not seeing the truth of what your higher self is trying to knock on your head and try to teach you this lesson as you move forward? Because like I said, Chiron is the wounded healer. He is finishing on Tuesday a cycle of all 12 houses, and he's getting ready to start a new cycle. Chiron, wounded healer, works from here to here, where this communication ain't getting through right. Okay? He's helping you heal your soul, He's the gatekeeper of wholeness. He helps you heal your soul, your emotional, your mental, your spiritual, and your physical. All four. Because all four are your one. He's the gatekeeper of wholeness. And he's going to work from the heart to the head and make that communication start to come clear. And that was why some of this energy for some of these people are so harsh. Because he's hitting you. He's literally like punching you in the face, going, do not make this cycle start again. You can move up. You can move up. But you got to work with them. If you work against the energy, it won't work for you. Anyway, like I said, you're getting the Snapdragon, which is so much powerful energy coming in. Like I said, it's a power surge that's coming in, basically, especially over the next month, but you're definitely going to feel it this week. Oh, you're going to feel it this week. Anyway, I'm also given Pine and Spruce. Pine and Spruce speaks to us of ancient wisdom. It speaks to us of healing, of purification, of energy in general. It speaks to us of releasing our guilt, as well as finding spiritual refreshment. It speaks to us of peace. How is peace created? And how is peace created within the idea of universal law? Then I am given Roses, and Roses speaks to us of clearing, cleansing, blessings, healing, purification, self-love, and protection and beauty. And with that said, also, there's two more things. Right before I came in here, I was said to say it for some of people who are watching it. Maybe what you need to hear for this connection to get through for you is Lord Shiva. It's a Hindu god. But I am being shown Lord Shiva, and he's actually showing me his movements, basically. And he is all about destruction and creation. Okay, and lastly, before I get into astrology, I am being told this week, darling, you will see mirroring and reflections being given back to you. And for those of you who don't know what mirroring is, well, we say that mirroring is like when you look in a mirror, you see the reflection shining back at you. Well, when you're doing mirroring with other people, usually it's more of the negative things that you need to learn about yourself to help yourself heal and move forward that you're going to be seeing is those things. I'm not saying that everybody out there is good. I'm not saying that there aren't people out there that don't just do things that are wrong. But it's not about judging other people. It's about learning for yourself so that you can ascend and be happier and more soulful and more whole within yourself and find peace. And those very things that piss you off, that drive you crazy, make you nuts about other people, the reason they usually drive you batshit crazy is because those are the things you're in denial about yourself, that you hate about yourself. And you need to address that within. That is mirroring. That is when we call the reflections are coming back at you. Now, with that being said, let me jump straight into astrology. I'm also being told that you might be getting or feeling or coming to know actions from the spiritual guidance coming to you, basically, in some way or another. And it's speaking to you of trusting your intuitions, trusting in your own personal divine wisdom, but taking that action as well and moving on, doing what is necessary to be done on that spiritual level and trusting in yourself. Why don't you trust in yourself? Is basically what I'm getting. Now, as I go into astrology, first off, I've only been talking about it forever. Chiron is going to be going into Taurus. No, sorry, wrong one. Chiron is moving into Aries on the 17th, which is Tuesday. Wounded Healer ends one cycle and starts to begin a next cycle. And the reason this is such a big deal is, let's think about it. You only have 12 signs. It's going to spend 9 years in the first sign. So this is not just a small shift. This is a shift that's going to start new directions and in the next 9 years start to reshape your life for complete life changes. And it's starting now. Or more or less, it might be starting next month, because the reshaping and the healing and the figuring out how to reshape it and redirect it is taking place now. Okay? That is what Chiron is doing now. Chiron is getting help from Saturn and Uranus as it does this. Chiron speaks directly to Chiron and Uranus. And Saturn and Uranus. This is your independence, your individuality, your uniqueness, your freedom, your inventive selves. Everything that is who you are. It's the core of who you are, of what of that inventive freedom, that individuality of who you are sets you slightly apart from everybody else, and it is getting ready to move itself in a month. So this energy it's getting right now is definitely like on a high prism ringing. Okay, and it's sending out some things that are actually coming from the darkness of Uranus, because it's hovering close to the sun at this time, but even closer is Eris, which is not something I talk about too much. Eris is aggression. It is spite. It is the warrior inside that has not found rest. It is where anger still resides. And that's where that individuality is starting to pump up, because it's going, no, you're not going to screw this up for me again. Basically, that's your individuality getting ready to move into Taurus. And before it starts its new cycle in Taurus, it's making sure Chiron's got punched in the face, so Chiron punches you in the face. And make sure you don't miss this message. Okay? And with that being said, Saturn is going retrograde the same day Chiron moves. And Saturn is rules, boundaries, and walls. Plain and simple. Reassessing all of this about who and what you are and why, and how can we make it better. Cleaning out lower vibrations. Learning how to slowly become the divine pupil of your own higher self, so that you can be a living divine consciousness. Okay? That's what this energy is. That's the power surge. Helping you, if you already are in that ascension, starting to move forward, it's just helping you get there a little bit faster. But for those who haven't come online, or who's just coming online, or just starting to clean out this energy, this is why it hurts so much. Now, with that being said, the sun itself is going to go right on past Uranus and past Eris, and it's going to be moving to Taurus itself on the 19th, which is Thursday. Now, that's your core going into Taurus, wanting to find the luxury, wanting to enjoy the beauty of life, wanting the best of the best. And how can my core energy find a way to be part of that? But at the same time, it's the bull. Taurus is the bull. So Taurus can be that can become a little bit of a bull-headed energy. And bullheadedness can be wonderful if it's fighting for the right reasons. If your bullheadedness for ignorant reasons, then you're just making yourself look like an ass, basically. And you'll be taught if that's the situation that's happening to you. Also, on the 22nd, 2 days later, you have Pluto going retrograde. Pluto, hello. Let me just say that. You thought Saturn going retrograde with rules, walls, and boundaries was going to be touching some stuff. You've got Jupiter in retrograde. You've got Saturn in retrograde. And as of the 22nd, the day I also do the global healing, please check back for the information on the global healing every single month on the 22nd. But with that being said, Pluto on the 22nd goes retrograde. Pluto is the only planet that doesn't turn inwards, because it already is inwards. Pluto is death, decay, and destruction for rebirth, renewal, and regeneration, which means I said the change has to happen, and it has to happen now. That's what Pluto means. Let's make it change. That's why Lord Shiva was put into this energy right now, because he's also speaking to us of that retrograde coming in. When Pluto goes retrograde, Pluto stops playing nice. Pluto won't take no for an answer now. If you aren't learning, Pluto will start kicking those doors down right with Saturn. Okay? So Pluto is trying to help you understand what it is you refuse to understand, so that cycle is not continuing, helping to push you right on over the fence so that you're on the side where the grass is greener. That's basically what's going to be happening. Pluto comes in for this time with, like I said, Jupiter and with Saturn being retrograde, because Mercury is leaving retrograde, thank God. But all of that is coming in, and like I said, Uranus is not going to move into Taurus until the 15th of next month. So it still has this time to prep you and prime you and tweak at you to make sure that you're getting what it really wanted to teach you before it moves into its new cycle, because it won't be back for 65 years. But on top of that, the farther it moves away from Eris, the less resentment it has in its teachings. So over this next month, it's going to really be giving you some clear information. Now, with that being said, you have a T-square on the 21st and the 22nd. And the T-square is the moon in Cancer and Mercury and Chiron and Aries are all communicating with Jupiter. And also Saturn and Saturn as well, because it's going to go right on over to Saturn and Capricorn in general with Lilith, Mars, and Pluto. So you're going to have your emotional waters in the universal fourth house speaking to Neptune, which is the creation of magic itself. But are you creating from clean water or from dirty water? This is what I said. Pisces is that interesting energy. And Neptune is full of nostalgia. We'll dig up that old magic to see if you've learned or if you're creating magic of something that never really was. Basically, it's trying to make you recreate life, but are you in fantasy delusional world because you want to believe something that is not real, or are you creating true magic and coming forward and starting to truly create in your life? Mercury and Chiron are in Aries, and or will be in Aries, and that is your communication is being the mediator to the wounded healer and the moon, as well as your intuition. But it is also going to be bringing that energy straight out and speaking to Saturn, where your rules, your walls, your boundaries are, as well as Mars, and as well as Pluto, as well as fire, Vista. So this is just your soul fire of your rules, your walls, your boundaries, your passion, your aggression, your warrior within, your fire for what you believe in, and the change, the foot down. I'm not, you can't push me around anymore. I'm going to do this. Standing up for yourself, making these changes. And this is communication that's going out into the outer world. So these are going to be very positive energies on these 2 days. But they might be, like I said, the power surge coming in. Very, very short time. You might just get that where even the meekest are strong. Okay? Now you also have Venus in Taurus is going to be trining Pluto and Lilith, Mars and Capricorn, as well as Saturn. Don't forget Saturn, as Saturn is going retrograde. Venus is in the second house of Taurus. It is your sensitivity, but it is not just, I don't like to call Venus love. Venus is your sensitivity. It's everything you're sensitive for the right reasons. How can you communicate properly to be able to sway what you want? How are you able to, be able to charm your way into things? That's Venus. Venus tells you what you love and why you love it. What you like and why you like it. And it also tells you what hurts you and why it hurts you. So there's your sensitivity on all levels, the physical world and the emotional world. And it is in Taurus is your self-worth, your self-esteem, your self-value. Okay, as well as your small items, like a ring, your cell phone, the small things that are important to you. But it is speaking directly with Pluto, Lilith, Mars, Capricorn, and Saturn. So it's speaking again to that outer world of that power surge. So it's giving you the hint of how can you finesse it to be what you want it to be if you're learning to listen and work with the energy. Spruce and pine energy also reminds us that it works with all 4 elements. Again, if you're not working with the elements, how do you expect them to work with you? Now, you also have Jupiter in the universal 8th house, which is what the relationships are responsible for, like your children. Taxes, bills, rent, cars in that form. What is your relationship responsible for? If you're a boss, it's for doing your job and making sure that the job is being met properly. And what I'm saying is, what is the relationship responsible for? And anything you care about in this world, you have a relationship with. Like I said a million times, if you have no money, because what, you know all about your relationship with no money. So it is not just about your friends, your loved ones, your family. It or your community in general. It's what the relationship is to you and whatever it is responsible for in your life. This energy by Jupiter is being magnified and it's trining Neptune. This can be a positive creative energy as long as you are not living in a delusional world. If you're in a delusional world of wanting to believe something that's just not going to happen, it could possibly come back to life because it's not meant to be, then it won't. It's about creating new creations and bringing that fantasy to life and creating it to be real. But if you're in nostalgia's delusion of what was and really maybe wasn't as good as you're remembering, you know what I'm saying? Then you're not going to be moving forward positively. This is a time for truth. Like I said, we had been given, over and over again for the last couple of weeks, the Apostle Paul, who was speaking to us of, truth. And I can't remember, the fifth ray, basically. So this is that energy. Are you using that energy that we were learning from that to move us and launch us forward? And then you also have the moon in Cancer trining Mercury and Chiron, as well as Scorpio. and Neptune. So you've got Mercury, Chiron, and Mercury is trining Chiron. Mercury, Chiron in Aries is trining. If I can learn to talk, I swear, is trining Cancer. Like I said, this has to do with the moon. Is there to teach you. You have to take all of your lower vibrations out. The heart has to be broken enough so that it can start to be rebuilt, to be light as a feather. How are you ever going to fly if you're too heavy to lift? Okay, and the moon is getting into the depths of who you are, as well as your intuitive nature and your soulfulness. And it is speaking with Chiron's wounded healer and Mercury, bringing that communication forward. Then, what I had it wrong was Jupiter is trining Neptune again. So that's that's just magnet abundance in positive creation. But remember, this positive creation is a power surge. It is a reset, a redirecting, a reassessing, because it's going to take a while to truthfully backbuild that energy and start to launch it forward, is what I'm being told. Now, you also have North Node Ceres in Leo. I'm so tongue-tied today. North Node, Ceres, and Leo. That's your universal fifth house. That is your creativity. That is your self-expression. North Node speaks to you about what it is you need to learn in order to move on. And Ceres is speaking to you about the threefold theory, karma, and what nurturing is. And are you nurturing or are you not nurturing, and why? Basically. And it is speaking again to Chiron and to Mercury. Everybody's talking to Chiron right now. Okay, this is what I'm saying. Everybody's talking to Chiron. And on top of all of this, you have in the seventh house is Libra, which is all about a balance. All about finding balance, and how do we create it? By tipping the scales to see what's off. That's what Libra is all about. The seventh house is those relationships within your life. And again, we establish relationships are not just your loved ones, your children, your family, your parents, your working employees. It's also, it's your money, it's your car. I mean, if you don't have a car, you know about your relationship with the lack of a car. Okay? So, I mean, anything that you care about, you have a relationship with. And it is speaking with Chiron and Mercury about how is it that we can enjoy our life? How can we create our life to have the self-expression we want and still be in service to ourselves, so that we can be in service to the world and still be good to the world and not just self-centered, egotistical asses. Okay? Now, You also have Neptune speaking to Pisces, which is a very powerful energy, because Neptune is speaking to Pisces, which is also going to be hitting with Jupiter. So that's a bringing the abundance to the creation of that, being able to charm your way through. These are all positive energies, unless you are too sensitive to be able to control your emotions. Because if you can't control your emotions, like I said, you have to get clearance from the moon in order to start to ascend. That's the moon's job. And if you can't control those emotions to be able to move you forward, then you're going to have problems. Now, the challenges this week also are going to deal with Mercury and Chiron, because it is speaking directly with Saturn, your rules, your walls, and your boundaries. And it is going to be tipping the scales of, well, do you want to change them? Do you got the balls to change them? Are you going to change them right? You know what I'm saying? Are you going to just blow up and make everything worse? Did you learn anything? And learn that sometimes it takes a talented way of going about it to make it work properly, a seasoned approach. And this is that higher self trying to communicate with you. You will be hearing it. Uranus is also going to be squaring Pluto, Lilith, and Mars. That is your power surge fighting your independence, your individuality, your uniqueness. So one is fighting your rules, your boundaries, and your walls. One is fighting your core. And they're both coming directly out of that universal 10th house. So the outer world, especially with your goals and your careers and your working environments, community, is going to be questioning you with what I've said the moon has to say. Are you ready to move on? And if so, are you able to do it with a mature level? Or are you about to start that cycle again because you never learned anything? This is all about the power surge and how well you handle that power surge. Now, you also have Jupiter is in Scorpio, that universal 8th house of everything you own, everything that your relationships are responsible for. But it's speaking to us also of birth, death, rebirth, and that fertility, speaking with Venus, and it's in opposition. This means the question is there on purpose. It's not meant for you to be able to go forward easily. The moon must grant you access. Okay? So you have to learn to control yourself, your emotions, and your sensitivities in order and able to do that. Basically, it's called spiritual maturity, honey. And that is where you start to be able to ascend and move on further and eventually moving into being a divine pupil from your own higher self, so you can eventually get to divine consciousness in your living life. But on top of that, Haumea in that universal 7th house is directly across from Uranus, is directly across from the sun, is directly across from Eris. And Haumea speaks to us of one thing: your collective consciousness. And Spirit already remind us, collective consciousness is only a goal. It's only an idea. You want to actually start to rise up and be able to let go of everything below. Everything, like I said, how are you ever going to learn to fly if your heart is too heavy to be lifted? That is learning how to start to come online. Become a divine pupil, period. And then eventually start to become into the energy of connecting with divine living consciousness. Because that's the goal, is to learn while you're still here. I love you. See you next week.